Have you ever felt so broken that getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain? Maybe you've experienced a failure so devastating that you questioned everything you believed about yourself. Maybe you've been knocked down so hard that staying down seemed easier than trying again. You tell yourself, I'm done. I can't take another hit. I'm not strong enough. But what if I told you that your greatest defeat might be the doorway to your greatest victory? What if one man's story of total collapse could show you that strength doesn't come from never falling, but from what you do when you're flat on your back? This is the story of a man who lost everything, including his will to live, until adversity became his greatest teacher. Stay with me until the end, because this might be the moment that changes how you see your own struggles forever. In a bustling city where ambition and dreams collided daily, there lived a 38-year-old man named Marcus. Marcus had once been someone. He owned a small but thriving construction business. He had employees who respected him, clients who trusted him, and a reputation built over 12 years of honest work. He lived in a modest house with his wife Sarah and their 7-year-old daughter Emma. Life wasn't perfect, but it was good. Marcus felt proud. He had built something from nothing, and every morning he woke up with purpose. But success, as Marcus would learn, can be fragile. It was a Wednesday afternoon in March when everything began to unravel. Marcus had taken on his biggest project yet, a commercial building contract worth $300,000. It would secure his company's future for years. He had invested everything, his savings, a bank loan, even borrowed money from his brother. The project was 70% complete when the client, a real estate developer, suddenly declared bankruptcy. Overnight, the project stopped. The client disappeared, and Marcus was left holding unpaid invoices worth over $200,000. He tried everything. Lawyers told him it would take years to recover anything, and even then, there were no guarantees. His bank demanded loan repayments he couldn't make. Suppliers he owed money to threaten legal action. Within 3 months, Marcus's business collapsed completely. He had to let go of all 8 employees, men who had families, men who had trusted him. He sold his equipment at a fraction of its value just to pay debts. He lost his house when he couldn't make mortgage payments. Sarah, his wife, tried to be supportive at first, but as the months wore on and Marcus sank deeper into depression, unable to find work, unable to provide, she grew distant. One evening, she sat him down with tears in her eyes. Marcus, I can't do this anymore. I need stability for Emma. My parents have offered us a place to stay, but they won't include you. I'm sorry. I still love you, but I can't watch you destroy yourself and drag us down with you. She left the next morning, taking Emma with her. Marcus stood in the empty apartment they had moved to after losing the house, surrounded by boxes and silence. He was 38 years old, bankrupt, divorced, and alone. That night, Marcus sat on the floor of his empty living room and thought about ending his life. Not dramatically, just the quiet thought that maybe everyone would be better off without him. He had failed as a businessman, as a husband, as a father. What was the point of continuing? He looked at his phone. No messages. No calls. The people he thought were friends had disappeared when his money did. He thought about his daughter, Emma, who used to run to him every evening shouting, "Daddy's home." Now she was learning to live without him. The pain was so deep it felt physical, like something crushing his chest. He couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. He spent days lying on a mattress on the floor, staring at the ceiling, replaying every mistake, every decision that had led to this moment. I'm worthless, he whispered to himself. I had one chance to build something, and I destroyed it. One morning, after another sleepless night, Marcus forced himself to walk to a nearby park. It was 6 a.m., and the city was just waking up. He sat on a bench, watching joggers and dog walkers, people with routines and purpose. He felt invisible, like a ghost watching the living. An old man sat down on the other end of the bench. He was probably in his 70s, wearing worn but clean clothes, feeding pigeons from a paper bag. They sat in silence for a while. Then the old man spoke without looking at Marcus. You look like a man who's lost everything. Marcus was startled. Is it that obvious? The old man smiled. I've seen that look before. In the mirror, 40 years ago. Marcus didn't respond, but the old man continued. Let me tell you something, young man. Defeat is not your enemy. It's your teacher, but only if you're willing to learn. Marcus felt anger rise. You don't know what I've been through. You're right, I don't. But I know what I've been through. I lost my wife to cancer. I lost my business to a fire. I lost my home to debt. I spent 2 years living on the streets, right here in this city. I tried to kill myself 3 times. Marcus looked at the old man properly for the first time. The man was clean, calm, even peaceful. But you survived. I did more than survive. I learned the secret that defeat was trying to teach me. What secret? That strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build in the darkest moments. Every time you get knocked down and choose to stand up, you become someone stronger. Not immediately, not obviously, but deep inside where it counts. The old man stood up, scattering the last of his bread to the pigeons. My name is Robert. I come here every morning at 6 a.m. If you want to learn how to turn your defeat into strength, meet me here tomorrow. Same time, but only if you're ready to do the work. Most people prefer to stay broken because it's easier than rebuilding. He walked away, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts. That night, Marcus barely slept. Part of him dismissed Robert as just another crazy old man. But another part, a small desperate part, wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was a way out of this darkness. The next morning at 6 a.m., Marcus was sitting on the same bench. Robert arrived with 2 cups of coffee. You came. That means something. He handed Marcus a coffee. Now, before I teach you anything, you need to understand this. Adversity breaks some people and builds others. The difference is not strength. It's choice. Every single day, you choose. Do I let this defeat define me, or do I let it refine me? Marcus took a sip of coffee. I don't feel like I have any choices left. That's because you're looking at what you lost. Successful people who overcome adversity do something different. They look at what they learned. Robert pulled out a small notebook. I want you to answer 3 questions. Write them down. Question 1. What did your defeat teach you about yourself? Marcus thought. Then slowly, he said, it taught me I was overconfident. I took on too much risk without protection. I trusted the wrong person. Good. That's wisdom. Wisdom you didn't have before. That wisdom is valuable. You paid for it with pain, but now you own it. Question 2. What strengths did you discover in your struggle? Marcus paused. I don't feel strong. Think harder. You lost everything. You're still breathing. That takes strength. What else? I kept trying to find solutions even when there weren't any. I worked 3 part-time jobs to try to pay debts. I didn't give up until I had no options left. Robert nodded. So you learned you're a fighter. You learned you're resourceful. You learned you don't quit easily. These are strengths you might not have known you had. Question 3. If you could rebuild your life from zero, what would you do differently? Marcus's eyes filled with tears. I'd be smarter. I'd learn about contracts and legal protection. I'd save more. I'd diversify income. I'd value my family more than my business. I'd ask for help instead of pretending I had everything under control. Robert smiled. Now you're thinking like someone who's ready to rise. Everything you just said, those are the foundations of your comeback. Marcus looked at Robert. But how? I have nothing. No money. No business. No family. I'm starting from worse than zero. I'm in debt. Exactly where I was 40 years ago. And let me tell you what I learned. When you have nothing to lose. That makes you dangerous. Dangerous? Free. People who have everything are afraid to risk it. People who have nothing can take chances others can't. You can start over without fear because you've already experienced the worst. Over the next 3 months, Robert met Marcus every morning at 6 a.m. in that park. And slowly, day by day, he taught Marcus the principles of turning defeat into strength. Principle 1. Accept reality completely. Robert explained, most people stay stuck because they're fighting reality. They say, this shouldn't have happened. It's not fair. Why me? But reality doesn't care about should. It only cares about is. Your business failed. Your wife left. You're in debt. These are facts. Accept them completely, not with bitterness, with clarity. Once you stop fighting what is, you can start building what will be. Marcus learned to say, this is my reality. I accept it. Now what do I do? That simple shift, from why me, to now what, changed everything. Principle 2. Build small wins daily. You can't rebuild a life in one day, Robert said. But you can do one small thing. Make your bed. Take a shower. Apply for one job. Read 1 page. Walk 1 mile. Small wins create momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates bigger wins. Marcus started keeping a journal of daily wins. Day 1. I got out of bed before 8 a.m. Day 2. I applied for 3 jobs. Day 3. I went to the library and read about financial management. Each small win was a brick. Slowly, he was building. Principle 3. Serve others from your weakness. This was the hardest lesson. One morning, Robert took Marcus to a homeless shelter. We're volunteering today. Marcus was confused. I'm barely surviving myself. How can I help others? Robert smiled. That's exactly why you can help. You know what rock bottom feels like. These people need someone who understands, not someone who pities. Marcus spent that day serving food, listening to stories, offering encouragement. And something unexpected happened. He felt useful again. One man at the shelter, a veteran who had lost his leg in his job, said to Marcus, "Thank you for treating me like a person, not a problem." Marcus realized, I still have value. Even broken, I can give something. He started volunteering twice a week. It gave him purpose when he had none. Principle 4. Learn the skill your defeat revealed you need. Robert asked Marcus one morning, "Why did your business fail?" Marcus had thought about this a lot. Because the client went bankrupt and I had no legal protection. And why did you have no legal protection? Because I didn't understand contracts. I didn't know about insurance. I didn't have financial reserves. So your defeat revealed a gap in your knowledge. Exactly. Then fill that gap. Don't just survive your defeat. Let it show you what you need to learn. Marcus enrolled in free online courses on business law, contract management, and financial planning. Every evening, after working his part-time job at a warehouse, he studied. The knowledge he gained wasn't just information. It was armor for his next attempt. 6 months after meeting Robert, Marcus got a job as a project coordinator for a small construction firm. It wasn't much, but it was in his field. He worked harder than anyone else. He applied everything he had learned from his failure. He triple-checked contracts. He built relationships carefully. He underpromised and overdelivered. His boss noticed. "Marcus, you work like someone who's been through hell." Marcus smiled. "I have, and I learned from it." 1 year after his business collapsed, Marcus had saved enough money to rent a small apartment. He had paid off a portion of his debt, and for the first time in months, he called his ex-wife. "Sarah, I know I failed you and Emma. I know I can't undo the past, but I want you to know I'm rebuilding. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm just asking for a chance to be a father to Emma again." There was a long silence. Then Sarah said, "Marcus, I've been watching from a distance. My brother told me you're working again. I'm glad. Emma misses you. Maybe we can start with visits on weekends." Marcus cried that night. Not from sadness, from gratitude. He was getting pieces of his life back, not because circumstances changed, but because he changed. 2 years after his defeat, Marcus had been promoted to senior project manager. He had rebuilt his credit. He had a relationship with his daughter, who stayed with him every other weekend. He had even started dating Sarah again, slowly, carefully. They weren't rushing, but there was hope. And every morning at 6 a.m., Marcus still met Robert in the park. One morning, Marcus said, "Robert, I need to know. How did you rebuild after losing everything?" Robert looked out at the sunrise. "I did exactly what I taught you. I accepted my reality. I built small wins. I served others from my weakness. I learned the skills my defeat revealed I needed. But most importantly, I changed how I saw adversity." "What do you mean?" "Most people see adversity as a wall that stops them. I learned to see it as a doorway that leads somewhere new. My old life ended, yes, but that ending made space for a new beginning. If I hadn't lost everything, I never would have discovered who I really was. I would have stayed comfortable, weak, untested. Defeat stripped away everything fake and left only what was real." Marcus understood. "My business failure felt like the end, but it was actually the beginning of me becoming someone stronger, wiser, better." "Exactly. And now you have something most successful people don't have." "What's that?" "You have the knowledge that you can survive the worst. You've been to the bottom and climbed back. That confidence is unshakable. No matter what happens now, you know you can handle it." Robert stood up. "Marcus, I don't think you need these morning meetings anymore. You've learned what you needed to learn." Marcus felt a wave of emotion. "Robert, you saved my life." Robert shook his head. "No, son. You saved your own life. I just showed you the tools. You did the work." They shook hands, and Robert walked away for the last time. But his lessons stayed with Marcus forever. 5 years after his defeat, Marcus had started a new construction company. This time, he did it right. Proper contracts, insurance, financial reserves. A small team of 3 people he trained personally. The company was growing steadily. He had remarried Sarah in a small ceremony with Emma as the flower girl. They lived in a modest but comfortable home. Life wasn't perfect, but it was good, better than before, because it was built on a foundation of hard-earned wisdom. One day, a young man came to Marcus's office. His name was David, and he had recently lost his landscaping business to a lawsuit. He was desperate, broken, looking for work. Marcus saw himself in David's eyes. He hired him as a general laborer. But more than that, he began mentoring him. Every morning before work started, Marcus and David would sit with coffee, and Marcus would share the principles Robert had taught him. Accept reality. Build small wins. Serve others from your weakness. Learn the skills your defeat revealed. See adversity as a doorway, not a wall. David listened like a man drinking water in a desert. 6 months later, David said, "Marcus, you changed my life. I was ready to give up. You showed me that defeat doesn't have to be the end." Marcus smiled. "I'm just passing on what someone taught me. That's how strength works. It's not meant to be kept. It's meant to be shared." On the 5-year anniversary of his business collapse, Marcus stood in his small office and wrote in his journal, "5 years ago today, I lost everything. I thought my life was over. I thought I was worthless. But I was wrong. That defeat was the best thing that ever happened to me. It broke me open so I could rebuild myself stronger. It taught me lessons I could never have learned in success. It showed me what I'm made of. Today, I'm not just a businessman. I'm a man who knows how to fall and how to rise. And that knowledge is worth more than any amount of money. If I could go back and prevent that failure, I wouldn't. Because the man I am today was forged in that fire. Defeat was not my enemy. It was my greatest teacher. My friend, Marcus's story is proof of something powerful. Your defeat, no matter how devastating, is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your transformation. Here's what most people don't understand. Strength is not the absence of struggle. Strength is what you build in the struggle. Every person you admire, every success story you read, behind it is a story of defeat, of failure, of moments when they wanted to quit. The difference between people who rise and people who stay down is not talent, not luck, not even circumstances. It's the choice they make in the darkest moment. Do I let this break me, or do I let this build me? Right now, you might be in your own version of defeat. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe a dream died. Maybe you failed at something important, and you're wondering if you'll ever recover. Let me tell you what Robert told Marcus. When you have nothing to lose. That makes you free to rebuild without fear. Here's your path forward, the same path Marcus walked. Step 1. Accept your reality completely. Stop fighting what happened. Stop asking why. Stop wishing it was different. It is what it is. Say it out loud. This is my reality. I accept it. Now what? That shift from victim to builder changes everything. Step 2. Identify what your defeat taught you. Every failure is a teacher. What did you learn about yourself? What weaknesses were exposed? What strengths did you discover? What would you do differently? Write these down. This is not just pain. This is expensive education. Use it. Step 3. Build one small win today. Not tomorrow. Today. Make your bed. Take a shower. Apply for one job. Make one phone call. Read one chapter. Take one walk. Small wins create momentum. Momentum creates hope. Hope creates action. Action creates results. Step 4. Serve someone from your weakness. Find someone struggling with something you've struggled with. Help them. Not because you've figured it all out, because you understand their pain. Service reminds you that even broken, you have value. Step 5. Learn the skill your defeat revealed you need. If you failed in business, learn business skills. If a relationship ended, learn about communication and emotional intelligence. If you lost a job, learn new marketable skills. Let your defeat show you what to study. Then study it like your life depends on it, because it does. I promise you this. If you follow these 5 steps, if you choose to see your defeat as a doorway instead of a wall, your life will transform. Not overnight, not magically, but steadily, surely, powerfully. You will become someone stronger, wiser, more capable than you were before the defeat. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the worst thing that ever happened to you was actually the best thing, because it forced you to become who you were meant to be. Marcus had nothing. No business. No family. No hope. Just a choice to meet an old man in a park and learn from his defeat. You have more than Marcus had. You're reading this right now, which means you're still searching, still fighting, still hoping. That spark is enough. Fan it into a flame. If this story resonated with you, if you're ready to turn your defeat into strength, leave a comment right now saying, "I choose to rise." Let's build a community of people who refuse to stay down. Share this with someone who's going through their own defeat. Maybe they need to hear that their struggle is not the end, it's the beginning. And remember Marcus's words, defeat is not your enemy. It's your teacher, but only if you're willing to learn. Your comeback starts the moment you decide that falling down is not the same as staying down. Will you rise? The world is waiting for the stronger version of you that only adversity can create. Don't make it wait another day.